more surgeries, more complications.
A chance she could live is better than doing nothing.
If little Cora knew the details, even in her delirious state, I am certain that she would elect to have her own will determine if she can beat this illness rather than die on my hands in an operating room.
There will be no eating in the theater, especially the theater of the Knick. Oh my goodness, you do not want to eat any food when you're watching this television show. It is so grotesque. It is so gruesome. We are going back in time into a place where people are just experimenting with medicine and they're just trying everything. We're seeing mad geniuses come to life.
Yeah, it's turn of the century, 20th century New York City, and Clive Owen is the headliner here. He plays Dr. Thackeray.
Please don't be uncomfortable. This is something I'm very used to.
You're talking about no eating in the theater. You're talking on the operating theater.
I'm talking about the operating theater, but also the theater of your living room, because you cannot eat at all.
Can't be munching on popcorn with all this blood splatter everywhere.
I would forget every single time I put on a new episode. I would make some dinner and then I would sit down to watch and I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do this right now. It is awful because we're getting introduced to this. Seeing, oh my God, seeing the most grotesque scene I think I've ever seen.
But what a wonderful idea, right? Right from the get-go, just the idea that all of this exploration and discovery of the human body, these magician doctors moving from total snake charmers of the Wild West into modern medicine and having some of the tools that were being developed, like Edison's electrical X-ray machine and things like that, coming into the hands of these people that were really just making things up as they go, and then suddenly they're starting to try to figure out how to build actual protocol to keep people alive and to save babies that are entangled up inside of an umbilical cord and do the first cesarean. I mean, there's some incredible stuff that is just presented intellectually in this show.
Look, this is what we do. We insert the basketball bladder bullet, the BBB.
There's also, you know, a pretty dark kind of heart to the emotional ramifications that happens with these doctors and nurses as they're dealing with all of this blood all over the place.
Well, not even that, like just dealing with that absolutely in the theater when they're operating, also when they're performing, because really they're performers as well. They're putting on a show for these people they're teaching, right? Every single character in the show has something going on with their own lives, and it's not one of those things where you feel like these secondary characters aren't interesting enough to me. Every single one of these characters in this show is compelling enough for me to want to keep watching. Even if I hate them, I want to watch and see where their story is going. And that's what I found so interesting about the show. Yes, it's grotesque, but that all that blood that you see kind of pulls you in even more, even though you can't really look at it. And you see the actors around it and how they're reacting to it. And the acting in here is
terrific. Absolutely.
Phenomenal. What is also fascinating about the show is that they shoot these grotesque scenes with all this blood and all this gore in one take. There's a lot of one-take things that happen here. So the direction is fantastic.
So the blood is practical. There is no CG. It's all over their faces and their hands and their shoes and the floor. And
there's blood everywhere.
But don't you feel like the medicinal victories and the operational victories that they have? Don't you just want to cheer when that happens, because you know that we're watching in a fictional setting some things that actually kind of pushed everything forward for us.
This is all based on reality. Even Edison's X-ray machine, how he wanted to X-ray his head and he was holding it there in front of his head. It was so funny. He's like, yeah, it's gonna take about an hour. I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna get radiation poisoning. You don't even know.
I know.
You don't even know. We feel so smart watching because we know what's gonna happen next in medicine. But to see these guys,
you know what they're saying is to get off your cell phone.
Get off your cell phone.
That's what they're saying.
It's true. I am so in love with the show. I cannot wait for season 2, even though it's going to very dark places.
Yeah, I'm a fan too. I think the Knick is very special and you should be watching it. What are you gonna give it?
It's getting a 9.
It gets an 8.5 from me.